BrightLinkSource.com here, guys, and today we're looking at my relatively new Omega Seamaster 300 Master Coaxial. So this is the reissue or reimagination of the very first Omega Seamaster 300, released in 1957 by Omega. A very cool watch. They've stayed quite true to the original in the style, so you can see on their website how they compare the two. They've done that with a lot of the sort of reissue watches. I actually have owned, and I still own actually quite a few of the reissues, like the Speedmaster MK2 and the Plow Prof as well, and I really like them. I've always been a fan of the vintage style watches, but I just I can't handle the sort of the upkeep and the maintenance of all these vintage watches. It's just too much work, and I'd be scared to wear them just because I'm just worried about fixing them. So these are sort of a perfect kind of watch for me, and it's the first time I've actually owned so many Omegas at the same time. So just want to take a look at the watch all around, see what it looks like. This watch, I wasn't sure about it when I first saw it online, but then I got to take a look at it in person, and I've decided, to get rid of my Seamaster 300M diver and keep this watch, because I just prefer this over that one. It's got a little more character to it, in my opinion, a little different, a little pricier, of course. So with the in-house 8400 caliber, the newer caliber that Omega has released, based on the 8500. We'll get into that a little bit more later. This one is a 41 millimeter watch. It does not wear like 41 millimeters. It wears more like a 39 or 40, in my opinion. It feels smaller than my Rolex GMT 2 ceramic. And it feels smaller than a sub. Also feels a little bit smaller than the 41 millimeter 300 meter diver. So in general, even though it's the same size, it feels smaller. Talk a little bit about the case and all that stuff and features, I guess. So it's got let's do the lume, see if I can charge it up a little bit with a flashlight. And I don't know if you can see that, but the lume is blue on everything except the minute hand, which is green, which is interesting because in daylight they're all antiqued. So it's kind of interesting to have a watch with antique lume and antique colored lume in when it's not glowing, and then it glows sort of a blue color. It's kind of unexpected, I guess. Not the first time I've seen it, but it's unexpected. So, kind of a neat feature there. Zoom up a little bit, take a look at the dial. So the dial is pretty standard issue. It's got fingerprints on it. Pretty standard issue, matte black dial. The indexes are kind of neat because I don't know if you can tell from there, but they're like inset into the dial, almost like it's like a sandwich dial or something. I don't know if it is. I couldn't see any information on it, but they almost seem like they sink in there, maybe to get some extra lume material in there so it would glow a little bit better. But it gives it a bit of a flatter look, but at the same time some sort of 3D-ness on the indexes there. No date on the dial, if you notice that. The movement does not have a date. Excuse me. The bezel is ceramic with what Omega calls liquimetal indexes or numbering. So all these are liquimetal, which, as far as I can understand it, it's liquid metal that's poured into the ceramic to give the numbering. Some sort of technology they have, I guess. So let's take a little more in-depth look at the casework here. Very nice brushed finish here, alternating with polished on the top. you'll notice that the bezel sticks out past the case. I'm guessing the bezel is the one that actually measures 41 millimeters and not the case, because it's quite small looking, but it wears good. It wears pretty solid, as you can see on my. I've got bigger arms, but my wrist is about 6 3/4. So, but it wears really, just wears like nice and solid on the wrist. It's not too big, not too small. I got this on the leather strap as well as this bracelet here. Had it on the strap originally, but decided I prefer the bracelet. It's got a two-tone brushed and polished finish on it. The clasp is the machined Omega clasp. This one has the adjustable micro adjustment push here, and then just pushing in, slide it back in. Make on the logo on the back there, make a logo. It's got the push button releases on both sides here. Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about the movement here. It's the caliber 8400. I guess they took the 8500 name and dropped a number because they got rid of the date, maybe. It's essentially the same movement as far as I can tell from all the specs. Same everything, except on this they call this the anti-magnetic movement. It's anti-magnetic up to 15,000 Gauss, so almost like a Rolex Milgauss or something like that. But it doesn't have an iron cage, but it's got some anti-magnetic properties. It looks very similar to an 8500 when I look at it. I haven't compared the two really closely, but it looks a lot like one. And there's, it's a see-through back here, so I'm not sure why this one is anti-magnetic up to 15,000 Gauss and the 8500 is not. But the 8500 doesn't say that in the specs, so all I can do is assume that it's not. But yeah, so back to this guy here. I think they really did a good job designing this watch, modeling it after the original Seamaster 300, and but kind of modernizing the watch in general, but not losing too much of their heritage at the same time. It's a good balance between the two, because the original does have, it does have some, the bezel is really thin on it. It's got some sort of funny design features on it that they didn't carry over, which is probably a good thing, because I don't think they'd necessarily look too good. It might look too dated, but they definitely did a good job, I think, modernizing the design but staying true to it in a watch that really still looks relevant and looks very wearable. I think this watch definitely looks better in person than it does in pictures. It's easier to appreciate once you put it on and kind of get a feel for it. The last James Bond Spectre watch was based on this model. So wearing it with a tuxedo, you kind of feel a little bit like James Bond, which is kind of cool. But it's a very nice watch. A lot of sort of subtle, understated things that contribute to making it quite nice. So hope you guys enjoy this review. Have a good one.